What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture, and today we got video 2 in this 4-part series of the top 20 modern comics to invest in right now. We're going to be counting down 15 to 11. Now, again, we're going to be looking at each of these books and what they've done over the last 5 years. We're going to have flow charts so you could see ebb and flow, peaks and valleys. Have they been going up every year, going down every year, a little bit of both? So it's going to be really fun to get through this list. Before I get into it, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so and check out all the awesome links below, including how you can become a member of the channel or even a Patreon member of the channel as well. But today we got a very, very special thank you to the OTIS app for sponsoring this video. So before we get into these 5 hot modern books, we are going to take a moment to talk about OTIS. I've talked about the OTIS app before. For those individuals that want to get their hands on a piece of some blue chip key comic books, this could definitely be for you. But you ask, what is OTIS? OTIS is an alternative investment platform that makes it possible for almost anyone like you and I to invest in shares of cultural assets. You can buy and sell shares of rare and high-priced collectibles, sneakers, art, and yes, you guessed it, comic books. Of course, that's why I'm here. So how it works, guys, it's really easy to use. All you have to do is download the app from either Apple or the Android Play Store. Sign up for free. You can follow weekly drops. You can buy shares of the latest drops directly from OTIS or buy shares from past drops from other OTIS members. You can then earn potential return by selling your shares to other OTIS members, or if OTIS sells the underlying asset, say for example, a comic book that you have, assets in, and at that price at which you bought the shares, if the shares are more valuable, you earn a return. So we're looking at blue chip keys like Giant Size X-Men #1. You could get $29.50 per share for this book, guys. If you go through the details of each item, it shows, basically it gives you a history and breakdown of the current market value, high sales, low sales, even just historical reference of what the book means, right? Amazing Spider-Man, $129, $24 a share. You got Tomb of Dracula, #10, the first appearance of Blade, $20 a share. And again, it breaks it down. Recent sales, it gives any, if there's movie spec hype, it'll show recent news. So for, the first appearance of Blade, you got the Blade movie coming out, right? We know that's coming from the MCU. So guys, really, really recommend you guys checking out the OTIS app. Again, you can download it for free. And if you guys sign up for OTIS with the link that I have in the description below, guys, you could get your first share free. So I want to say again, thank you so much to OTIS for sponsoring this video. All right, so these books aren't in any specific order based on value, but keep in mind, I will be doing separate videos where we look at the actual rate of return and put all of these 20 books in proper order based on which ones are hottest on the market and have been the hottest on the market over the last 5 years. And for those that don't know what rate of return is, it means percentage of growth year after year. So keep that in mind. But right now, we're going to get into the first book out of today's 5, and that is Mighty Avengers #1, the first appearance of Monica Rambeau as Spectrum. This book has been hot since WandaVision, since seeing Monica Rambeau in that show, and this is what I believe, and I know a lot of you believe this as well. We think that Monica Rambeau is going to take the mantle of Spectrum. We know we got the Easter egg showing that her mother had the mantle of Photon, so that's why people are really looking at this book for this character in the MCU. So right now, CGC, that's a CGC 9.8 fair market value, sitting at about $200. A high raw sale hit $35. I think this was just a couple weeks ago. So this book is fairly healthy, obviously. I don't think this book was really looked at that much until we knew Monica Rambeau was coming in an MCU, and then, of course, what propelled it even more was the fact that more and more people are really believing that Monica Rambeau will be Spectrum. So let's look at what this book has been doing year after year for the last 5 years. Now, unfortunately, it wasn't worth $0 in 2017 and 18. I just simply didn't have statistics to show for those 2 years. So we're going to have a starting point of 2019 for this book. This book's CGC 9.8 fair market value in 2019 was only sitting at $60. So not much more than, the cost of your CGC fees and shipping, right? In 2020, it started to spike, sitting at around $100 fair market value. And this year so far, it has doubled in price up to that $200 fair market value. So I definitely see this book continuing to, be on an upward trend. We're going to see this character sooner than later. We're going to see her in the Captain Marvel 2 film. And as soon as this character, if and when we know that this character takes the Spectrum mantle, that's when we're going to see this book jump even more. So again, I say this all the time. Modern books have more validity than, say, your blue chip keys from Copper, Bronze, or Silver Age. But all of these books on this list have a lot of at least recent precedent to prove that they have a very high ceiling over the next 5 years. And as I always say, guys, too, don't just watch these videos and look at these books and just go buy these videos because I'm talking about them. Just because these books are on this list and you see the trend over the last 3 to 5 years going upward doesn't mean it's necessarily a good time to buy. So like I always say, I will never tell you to go buy a book. I will never, force your hand to do something. If you have love for the book, if you're willing to take the risk of the book, do what you need to do as a collector. I'm here to give you facts, data, and my personal opinion. So for this one, I actually bought a copy of this book. It was decently high grade for $12 about, 2 months ago now? Not even 2 months ago. So I think if you could find a decent high grade of this book for, under $25, I think it's a solid buy. You're not putting a lot of money out there. It's not a huge risk. And just like I said, the ceiling for this book to grow is very high in my humble opinion. All right, let's get into the next book. And that is this one's only been out for a couple of months. This is Future State Wonder Woman number 4. Wonder Woman number 1. This is the first appearance of Yara Flor. I'm taking a gamble with this book. As you can see, there's no CGC fair market value on the census at least. But a high raw of this book did sell for $38. $38. And this was a cover price $3.99. This wasn't one of the $5.99s or the $7.99 Future State books. This was a $3.99 cover price book. So for it to be selling at $38, I think goes to show. I think Yara Flor has a very bright future. And I think over the next 5 years, this book is going to be a hot one. I think people are going to be sending it in to CGC, CBCS, and whatnot. And you're going to start seeing, sooner than later, you're going to start seeing some 9.8s selling on the market. And like I said, I think there's so much room for DC to maneuver with this character. And we have already seen what Marvel and Marvel Studios has been doing with some of their newer characters, like Riri, Kamala Khan. I think this is a character that can be brought into the DCEU or some type of live action under Warner Brothers sooner than later as well, which can really propel this character. Of course, a lot of that has to do with the DCEU and Warner Brothers getting their crap together and really getting something feasible going on, whether that's a connective universe or just making films that stand out to audiences. So I think this character has a bright future. I have not read number 2 of this 2-part series yet. I have to. I loved this book here, but I've just been so busy. And now that I'm talking about it, I might just go and read that today. So again, no real 5-year, analytics to look at, but just I'm taking a gamble on this one. I think over the next 5 years, we're going to still be talking about this book and this character. All right. Third book today, Darth Vader number 3, the first appearance of Dr. Aphra. Star Wars Mania. I've been talking about it for a while now. It is hot, and it is blazing. Let's look at this first appearance of Dr. Aphra book. CGC 9.8 fair market value right now is sitting at about $449, and we had a raw sale above that fair market value of $460. So what does that tell me? It tells me, and again, this is just I'm making a hypothesis based on the data at hand. It tells me that this book that sold that was raw most likely was bought assuming that it's going to get at least a 9.8. Maybe they thought they can even get a 9.9. Who knows? And it speaks to me that CGC 9.8 fair market value is moving upward rapidly. And I say this all the time. Even fair market value is subjective. It's a rough average, and it can change day to day, week to week. You know, you never know when it's going to bounce up, shoot down. It fluctuates quickly, and that's what I think is happening with this book. Let's look at this book over the last 5 years in that CGC 9.8. 2017, this book was sitting at about $81 for fair market value 9.8. 2018, small bump up to 88. 2019, starting to get little decent increases here, $112. But look at this. Look at this 2020 bump up to $282. And then look at what it's doing now in 2021, $449. Wow. So you can look at the trajectory of this book, and you know there's going to be naysayers out there that say, oh well, when things shoot up that fast, they're bound to come tumbling down. That's not true. That can happen, but it's not a mathematical science. All right. So don't just see this and think that it's a bubble and it's going to crash. Can it dip? Absolutely. But I talk about thresholds. I'll probably saying in every single video in this series. It's never going to be $112, $150 book ever again. And I would stake claim right now to say this book will never even be a $282 CGC 9.8 fair market value ever again. And that's the threshold. Can this book maybe drop back down to $350 before it gets hot again? Maybe. But again, I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going to say that even if this book does cool off and has cool off periods, ebb and flow, which is natural and healthy for any given market, it's never going to be a $282 book again. And believe me, when this character gets announced for a live action TV show, film, whatever it may be, this book is going to continue to surpass that $449 mark, even if there's ebb and flow in between there. That's my humble opinion. Star Wars, man, do not underestimate the power of these Star Wars books. Moving on to the fourth book on the list today, The Walking Dead #1. Gotta give some indie love, and man, what Image has done. So this book came out in 2003, so it's been on the market for almost 20 years now. Can you believe that? 18 years. Wow. Look at these numbers. CGC 9.8 fair market value, $2,848, and a high raw sale of $1,500. You know, I talked about in the past and even recently about how UF4, you know, with Miles Morales, is the modern day Hulk 181, right? This is the modern day Hulk 181 of the independent book, right? And I'm not talking outside of the superhero genre. And that's why you got to give big credit to these companies that in the early 2000s, when the comic book industry, especially, you know, Marvel and DC, you know, were coming out of the 90s and trying to find themselves again and reinvent the superhero genre and to get back into a healthy market and a healthy industry. You got to give credit to these independent publishers, especially Image, and what they did with The Walking Dead. And that's why this book is such a pivotal book right now in the history of comics in general. The independent books that decided to go outside of the superhero genre really help revitalize the industry in the 2000s. So that's why this book is on this list, and we're going to look at these numbers. Now, Look, I know you see some dips here. You see some dips. Let's look at 2017. I mean, already, this book was such a key book, right? $2,465 in that CGC 9.8. It went up slightly in 2018, 25.28, but it dipped pretty hard in 2019, back down to around that 2090 mark. Started to climb a little bit again in 2020, and then we had a nice jump in 2021 so far, up to $2,848. Look, I'm not going to sit here and talk about why this book had dips. Was it because, we had a break in the show before we got that final season? Did the show have anything even to do with it? Did people lose interest? I didn't. It had its boring moments here or there, but I thoroughly enjoyed every single season. Been watched all 10 seasons in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? So, like I say, you never know all the variables at play, what correlates to these prices when it dips or shoots back up. Obviously, right now, overall, the market is healthy. And I've said this before recently, contrary to popular belief, not everything is up. Not everything is up in the market. It's not a blanket, generalization that just because of COVID, everything's up. No, that's not true. But I still feel in 5 years, this book is going to be worth more than where it's at right now. Look, it's a high value book. So when you see a book drop, almost $500, you could be like, wow, that's a big dip. But in reality, it's a smaller percentage next to if you had a book that was only worth a couple $100 and then it dropped back down to, 120. You got to look at percentages. So this book sitting at that 2090 mark 2 years ago is still extremely healthy. It's still sitting above past thresholds, because I know if we looked at this chart, 5 years before this, we could really see how this book climbed. So sitting at about 2,800 right now, I definitely see this book having some more cool out periods. Where the final season, I believe, just aired last week. So have that be a correlation to keeping this book healthy, maybe over the next year. Who knows after that? But again, 5 years from now, I think we're going to be seeing this book way above, decently above where it's at right now. All right, everyone. Last book of today's, coming in at 15, is Mace Windu number 5. Some more Star Wars mania. And this book, wow. Okay. For those that don't know, this is the first full appearance of Ahsoka in canon. Now, I know all you big Star Wars fans out there are probably, there's a lot of you cringing at that, especially you big EU fans. So basically what this means is, with Disney and Marvel owning the rights to Star Wars, basically everything that's Marvel is canon. And it sticks a knife into the EU fans. And look, I like some of what Marvel has done with some of the Star Wars stuff. I'm reading the actual the Star Wars main title right now, and it's one of the boringest reads I've ever read. But look, if they want to change canon around, it is what it is, and we as collectors follow, right? So even though Clone Wars #1 is the first appearance of Ahsoka in comic books, this book, according to Marvel and Star Wars, is now canon. So it is the first full appearance of Ahsoka in canon. CGC 9.8 fair market value, $405. Guess how much I paid for this book? 50 cents. No lie. 50 cents. High Ross sale, $355. Wow. Let's look at it. So here's another one. We only have 3 years of data, unfortunately. So no, it wasn't worth $0. Well, for me, it was worth 50 cents. So it was pretty close, right? But not in a CGC 9.8. So we don't have sales data for 2017, 2018, but we're looking at 2019 here. $150, okay, decent. But look at this increase over, it more than doubled going into 2020, sitting at $336, and it continues to shoot up, sitting at about $405 right now. I will say, looking at these numbers individually over the last couple of months, It's cooled off a little bit because even though the fair market value for this year is sitting over 400, it had a couple of sales. It had one sale that hit 600, had a couple of sales that hit over 500. And then as of late, it had a couple of sales that were in the 300 range. So it's kind of seemed to cool off slightly. I mean, there's not been too many sales on the market, but look, you know, it shot up really hard because of us seeing Ahsoka in Mandalorian, and then you know, Mandalorian, the season ended, and you know, now there's all the Disney Plus MCU hype. So you know, again, ebb and flow. It's natural. So when you ask, what was it a good time to buy? I'm not going to tell you it's a good time to buy this book. I don't like to flat out and say that, but I can say if you look at the data and you look at what's been announced and where the book's at right now, the book is still selling above where it was at even a year ago, right? So again, you look at thresholds. But it's cooled off a little bit than what it was selling for a couple months ago or a few months ago. So you can sit and say it's less risky to buy now than it is to wait for more announcements of the Ahsoka show or a trailer, because it's almost, and nothing's ever guaranteed, but if you look at precedent and you look at how the markets works, it's almost guaranteed that once we get a trailer for the Ahsoka show, this book is going to shoot up past, you know, we're going to start seeing those books probably sell for 500, 600, maybe even more at that point in time. So I believe you're taking less risks if you were to buy it now than if you were to buy it in a few months once we get a trailer or something like that, right? So my encouragement to you, if you're willing to take the risk, if you got the money in the budget and you're willing to go out and search for this book, just be patient still. You know, like I said, there have been books that sold over the last month that were under that $400 mark that sold for like, I don't know, $315, $360, somewhere around there. So if you can find a book maybe in the 300s or maybe even a little cheaper than that, and you're willing to take the risk, I do believe there's a good possibility that a year from now, that book can make you money if you decided to flip it. But I want to look at long term here, and I do believe that this book is one that's going to continue to grow for that long term. I think the Star Wars mania is not going anywhere. Jeff and I on Comic Book Canon, we talk about this often. It's a golden age for Star Wars comic book collectors. And I think that where Star Wars is going and Lucasfilms is going with the platform that they have for their live action projects is only the beginning. So look, there it is. That's my interpretation of the situation. You all feel free to let me know what you guys are going to be doing with these books. Do you own them? Are you looking at them? Are you wanting to pull the trigger? Maybe you don't care about them at all. And let me know what books that you think should be on this list that maybe just haven't appeared yet. We still got 10 more books to go, guys. Before I end this video today, though, I obviously have to give a big shout out to all my wonderful Patreon members. Again, month after month, you guys continue to support. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. I also want to take this time to give a big shout out to my YouTube channel members. I don't have your guys' names up. You know what? I'm going to get your names up and give you all a shout out as well real soon, probably in the next video on this video series. So again, big shout out to all of my members. I appreciate you so much. You do so much to continue to help support this channel. If you all want to learn how to become a Patreon member or a YouTube member of the channel, the Patreon link is below. That's only $3.99 a month, where you get extra perks, exclusive videos, a monthly Q&A, and extra entries into all my YouTube contests and automatic entries into all my Patreon-only contests. If you want to become a member of the channel, you can hit that join button below. That's only $1.99 a month. You do get extra perks as well here on YouTube, and you get automatic extra entries into all of my YouTube videos. All right, excuse me, YouTube videos. I meant to say my YouTube contests, like my 5K sub contest that's going on right now. You guys do have a couple more days to enter, all right? That is getting closed Friday. So if you haven't entered yet, last minute, all you need to do is be subbed to me here on YouTube. You need to find me on Instagram if you have an Instagram at journos_comics. That link is below. And you have to subscribe to our Comic Book Canon channel where we have our live shows every Friday night. That link is below. And then you have to come back to any one of my videos and just tell me in the comment, I'm subscribed to you in Comic Book Canon, and you will be entered. And of course, if you're a member of any kind, you will get extra entries into that contest. Thank you all for watching. Again, big shout out to OTIS and the OTIS app. Their information is below. And remember, guys, you can hit that link and get your first drop for free. So again, check them out. Check them out. Just take a few minutes to check them out. You won't regret it. Thank you all for watching. Leave your comments below. And until next time.